So just kind of transitioning into kind of thinking about the big picture again, that we're talking about cell division, but really we're talking about the makeup of an organism. Okay, and so an organism, just defining it, is one individual, one member of a species. Okay, we are an organism in our species of human. There are species of primates, species of dolphins, stuff like that. Okay, and so organ systems are what make up organisms, and they are a distinct set of organs within an organism that work together as a unit for a common function. So, an example of this would be our digestive system. And so, the organs that make up that system would be like our stomach, our small intestine, large intestines, even your teeth and your saliva could be considered part of the digestive system because that is where our food first interacts and starts getting broken down mechanically through chewing and chemically through the enzymes in our saliva. They start breaking down those bonds. And so those can be considered part of the digestive system. Okay, and so an organ is when several types of tissue work together for a common function. So, for example, your stomach is made up of muscle cells and muscle tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue just aids in movement, churning and stuff like that, constriction, restriction of your stomach, and connective tissue just connects your stomach, your organs to other organs or other areas of the body. Okay, and so then the definition of a tissue is when a group of identical cells are working together for a common function. So, for example, muscle tissue. The muscle tissue in your arm is going to all be working together. All those identical groups of all those identical cells, muscle cells, are going to work together to raise that shoulder, lower that shoulder, turn that head back. Okay. And then cells are the most basic unit of life that has all 6 characteristics of living things. And so, for example, a muscle cell. So we start down here at the most basic unit of life. Cells form tissue, so muscle cells make up muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is one of the tissue types that makes up your stomach. Your stomach is one organ in the larger digestive system, and our digestive system is one of a few major systems that make up an organism and allow them to live. All right, so next up is cell differentiation. So wait, if cell division produces identical cells, how exactly do they start becoming quote unquote specialized? Like, how do we have muscle cells, skin cells, cardiac cells? This happens through a process called cell differentiation. And so differentiation is a process that creates special structures and functions. So these specialized cells will eventually become tissues, collections of cells or tissues. Those tissues will form organs, and then those organs will form organ systems. Okay, organ systems are stuff like the digestive system, the respiratory system, circulatory system, you name it. Okay, so one important point about this is that all cells have the exact same DNA, okay? So every single one of our cells is pulling from the same instruction booklet, okay? There's no differing instructions from one cell to the next, okay? Skin cells and muscle cells have the exact same instruction booklet, okay? Just want to be extra super clear about that. Okay, so how this happens is, I'll tell you. So every single one of our cells first started out as something called a stem cell. So over here, here's the picture. And as you can see, they're kind of like a blank slate template of a cell, if you will. And so stem cells have the ability to turn into a variety of different cell types. So as you can see in this image here, stem cells can become neurons for our nervous system. They can become enterocytes, which are the cells that line your intestines. They can become hepatocytes, which are your liver cells. They can become cardiac cells that make up your heart. And they can become osteocyte cells, which make up your bones. Okay, there are others as well, but this is just showing this in this image, okay? So we do have cells that start out all looking exactly the same, and through a process I'm going to continue to talk about right now, they eventually differentiate and specialize in a certain area as a specific type of cell. Okay. So stem cells are cells that can become differentiated into one or more types of specialized cells. Okay, and here's just a little picture of what a stem cell looks like under a microscope, just so you can have some clarity there. All right, and there are two types of stem cells that we're going to talk about, okay? The first one is an embryonic stem cell. So embryonic stem cells are cells that have never differentiated. So think about yourself as a growing fetus. You are going to be differentiating and dividing your cells. Your cells are going to be embryonic stem cells because they've never been specialized or differentiated before. Okay, then the second type are adult stem cells, and these are cells that are found in adult bone marrow. So the inner portion of your bones there's something called bone marrow, and it's kind of like a liquid portion. And these cells are partially differentiated, so they're kind of a little bit further along in the process, but they can still become bone, blood, cartilage, fat, connective tissue. They can still become numerous amounts of things. They're just a little bit more limited to what they can become.
So you're reading the newspaper, you're watching the news, and they're talking about some new medical technology, some breakthrough treating congestive heart failure, regrowing muscle tissues in wounded soldiers. I bet you that story is going to mention that this new type of therapy uses stem cells. And I bet you, like most people, are going to listen along and be like, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Without actually knowing what stem cells are, because who has time to know what stem cells are? Today, we're making time. You got lots of different types of cells in your body. You got muscle cells and skin cells and liver cells and brain cells, and most of these cells have to be replaced every once in a while. Your taste buds, for instance, are replaced every 10 days or so. Skin cells are replaced every couple of weeks, and liver cells turn over every 300 to 500 days. The cells that are doing the replacing of the old cells and the repairing of the damaged tissues are adult stem cells, also called somatic stem cells. The different sorts of cells, skin cells, liver cells, retina cells, muscle cells, intestine cells, they all have very specific jobs, and they're built in very specific ways to do those jobs. Different shapes, sizes, contents. You can't just stick a muscle cell into a damaged liver and expect it to start breaking down your alcohol for you. Somatic stem cells, on the other hand, haven't decided what the heck they're going to be. They're undifferentiated. They haven't specialized yet, like a college freshman. Or, let's face it, a recent college graduate. They have no idea what they're going to do with their lives. But just like there are different types of college graduates, there are different types of adult stem cells. Some can become more different kinds of things than others. Pluripotent stem cells can become many different types of cells all over the body. However, they're really hard to track down because there are so few of them in each organ or tissue. There are also multipotent adult stem cells, which are more common in the body, but restricted in the kind of cell that they can become. It's kind of like the difference between graduating from a trade school, where you've been trained to do a few different possible jobs, and graduating with a degree in philosophy or something, equally unprepared for all jobs. So yeah, stick a pluripotent cell in a damaged liver, and it just happily becomes a liver cell. Pretty cool. But there are some even better types of stem cells to be had, embryonic stem cells, which are also pluripotent. These are the cells inside a human embryo when it's a blastocyst, basically just a tiny nugget of human cells 4 or 5 days old, which is destroyed in the process of removing the stem cells from inside it. These embryonic cells are obtained from in vitro fertilization clinics that fertilize eggs outside of a mother's body for couples who are having trouble conceiving. Naturally, these clinics have some leftover fertilized eggs, so with the donor's permission, they're given to scientists doing stem cell research. Now, the main advantage of the embryonic stem cells is that while adult stem cells can be grown in culture for a time, meaning they can be made to multiply over and over in a nutrient solution, they can't grow for as long or as fast as the embryonic stem cells, which can be maintained indefinitely under the right conditions. After just 6 months in culture, a single wad of 30 embryonic stem cells will have yielded millions of stem cells, which can go on to develop pretty much into any type of cell in the body. Also, adult stem cells, if used in some sorts of transplant therapies, are more likely to be rejected than embryonic stem cells. Stem cell research is currently pretty hoppin'. Embryonic stem cells are being used by researchers all over the world to figure out how to repair or replace damaged cells and organs and create new drugs. But regulations have taken their toll. There are only about 35 stem cell lines or families of identical pluripotent stem cells that are available for federally funded research in America, whereas Europe has a couple thousand. So there, now you'll never have to your way through another news report about stem cells again. Thanks for watching this episode of SciShow. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter, or of course down in the comments below.
All right, so he just kind of explains it in another different way, and kind of highlights again the difference between embryonic stem cells and adult stem cells. So, embryonic stem cells, I mean, it just makes sense. They're younger, they've never been differentiated before. So, of course, they're going to be more viable. They're going to just be, I mean, the younger you are, the more agile we are as humans. So, it makes sense that our cells would behave the same way as well. Okay. Yes, but what you're going to say is, Miss Harrison, if we all have the same DNA in every cell, and all of our cells come from these stem cells, how do our stem cells decide what kind of cell they're going to be? What's happening? Okay, so it has something to do with something that's called gene expression, okay? And so essentially what happens is our genes at any one single point in time can either be turned on or turned off. So if a gene is turned on, we would say that that gene is being expressed. And if it is turned off, we would say that that gene is not being expressed. Okay, and so here we are on the left looking at a single cell, okay, and it undergoes mitosis, obviously, and it creates two identical daughter cells. Okay, so we have these two identical daughter cells, and it just so happens that in this cell, the neuron-specific gene is expressed. Okay, so for some random reason, whatever happened. In this daughter cell, this gene is turned on. This gene is being expressed. However, in the other daughter cell, this one, it has the neuron-specific gene turned off, and the epithelial-specific gene is turned on or is being expressed.